guys, welcome back to the 23rd episode of Two Friendless Friends. And as usual, we'll just start with our life updates. So Flora, what's been happening in your life recently?
Hi. Okay. I said the same thing as I did in the last episode, but I've just been doing so many interviews. Uni started 2 weeks ago, but for me, it really only started this week because that's when I started all my tutorials. And for one of the classes, it was good because I felt like everyone there was really nice and cool, and I just wanted to become friends with everyone in the class. But then for the other class, because I only have 2 in-person tutorials, for the other class, it was like I wasn't getting like the best vibes. And there's group projects for both of them. But I'll figure it out. It's all good. And yeah, I've just been doing a lot of interviews. I did one this morning. And
I did one yesterday.
oh, and I also have joined the pathway journey of dating apps, which is an interesting story. But what about you? What's been going on in your life?
Uni has really picked up the pace this week, I think, because my assignments were released in week 1, but I don't think it was really expected that we started them. And now it's week 2. I have one due next Friday and the Tuesday after as well. And I haven't started either of them. So, I don't know how screwed I am, but that's a problem for future me to deal with. And for now, I'll just try my best to do the content. Because do you think it's kind of unfair that the content is only covered, by the end of this week, and the assignment's due in week 4 on Tuesday morning?
No, because then you have 2 weeks.
That's just over a week. That's just over a week.
If it's covered today and it's due...
It's covered, this week overall. My tutorial's tomorrow.
And then it's due week 4.
Tuesday morning, which is just a week and a couple days.
Right. What's your assignment, though?
It's the comp one. It's gonna be long, I already know.
I just feel like...
Comp assignments, you need at least 4 days, I think.
With uni, it's definitely... You definitely need to learn how to manage your time because they expect you to be able to just learn things really quickly and then be able to, understand it and get an assignment done in a week. Because I feel like a lot of times, those quizzes they have to just test your knowledge?
Yeah.
They always include information and content in that week. I feel like for example, if they set it in week 3, they include week 3 content, which is kind of hard, but I feel like I've just learned that that's just uni expectations.
I found that there are courses where I'm able to get by without using much of my brain. It's really doable. But now that I'm going to higher level comp courses, computer science courses, it's all condensing very quickly, very specialized. And literally next term for my algorithms course, there's 5 assignments.
Oh.
There's an assignment due every second week.
Oh my. And I feel like with comp too, it's one of those degrees where you actually have to learn and apply. It's not like in marketing. Actually, I hate on marketing, so I love marketing.
I find that the commerce courses, I've noticed that all the assignments, I can last minute them in a day, but with comp, I cannot. I need a few days at least. I think the most last minute I've left a comp assignment was I think 4 days before I was due, and but that one ended up being an easier one. So I did finish with a day left.
Because I was saying with comp you really do need to it's not just writing. Like it's not just essays or just memorizing, which is really common for a lot of commerce subjects. I think out of the commerce subjects I've done anyway, except for accounting, because that's maths and you actually have to learn stuff. But everything else, it's just memorizing off a textbook, I feel.
Yeah, and especially since so many of our exams now are open book, we don't even memorize. It's just Command F. Like, literally every single exam. Have I had any closed book exams? I don't think so. At least not in the business school.
I've technically...
Because I think, from memory at least, the only exam that I've had that was closed book was a comp exam. And, like, it made sense because, like, when I was doing the exam, I had, like, no time to flip to anything else. I was just focused on getting the questions out, and I still didn't finish. Like, there's so many of these exams where if it's timed and it's not like a take-home exam, you literally have no time to check anything anyway. So, it's useless to make it open book.
Which do you prefer though? Like subjects where you actually have to learn and apply your knowledge, or just subjects where you memorize?
Learn and apply. I tend to do better for those exams as well.
Me too. Except for, I remember high school bio. It was technically learn and apply. But I don't know why. Maybe it was the content that was really, really boring to me. But it just felt like I was just memorizing off a textbook. And I hated that subject.
Okay, I think moving on, we've also touched on this before, but this week we wanted to really talk about the interview process, mostly because both of us have been going through quite a few interviews in the recent weeks, and we've kind of like developed some opinions
and tips
about
and tricks.
Like recruiting processes, because some of them are actually so long. It gets a bit, like, nerve-wracking when you get to it.
But before we go into that, I wanted to ask my weekly question to you.
Yes.
Okay. So, I came up with this question when I was just randomly thinking and reminiscing. So, what's the best compliment you've ever received?
I don't really remember compliments. I can't really think of any on top of my head. The only one I remember is the most recent one, which is during a technical interview, which is, I'll go through more details on technical interviews later, but it was like, the interviewer just said my code was good and, like, he didn't have any kind of suggestions for it, and I was like, wow, like, this person from this big company who's been working on, like, really big projects that, like, people are using every day said my code was good and didn't have any critiques for it.
Oh, that was like a nice validating moment then.
Yeah, but then I realized I made a really fundamental mistake.
Oh, did she not pick up on it?
He didn't pick up on it. Neither of my interviewers picked up on it, because I think it was just like, it was so dumb that it was easily ignored. It wasn't something that they had to worry about.
Oh, okay, fair. So the reason I came up with this question was because I also don't really remember compliments. Like, people say things and it's nice, but it wasn't until I was at dinner with a friend and my friends were, like, getting a bit drunk, and when they do, they turn into the cutest people, because they just ramble on and get really, like, cuddly, and it's cute. I wasn't drinking. Anyway, so my friend turns to me and she says, you know, while I'm drunk, I might I'm going to take this time to compliment you. I just think that you're really good at... Wait, actually, no, that's not what she said. Well, no, sorry. I got the stories mixed up. Okay, she did say that, but the compliment wasn't part of that story. So basically, I don't really drink because I can't, but my other friends do. And one of my friends, let's call her A, she was saying that she just feels really comfortable around me, even when she's drinking and I'm not. And she doesn't feel she doesn't feel weird about it, I guess. And she likes that I don't feel like I have to be pressured into it, because I'm fine with not drinking. Like, I would rather not drink than drink any day. So anyway, she was just comparing me to someone else and saying, like, okay, when I'm with you and I'm just drinking alone, like, I feel fine. I feel like safe. I just feel like myself. I don't have to worry about you judging me for drinking. However, when I'm with this other person and we are drinking together, even though they don't drink, I feel like they're just kind of judging me. And so the best compliment I've ever received was when my other friend joined in the conversation, and she said, oh yeah, I think that's because Flora matches people's energy really well. And then when I heard that, I was like, okay, that's kind of really nice to hear, because I feel like I get along with people quite well.
I mean, you do. Like, I feel like you start conversations with people so easily.
But starting isn't really matching people's energy.
Yesterday when we met my friend at the light rail, and like, you matched the conversation so well, and I was like, wow, this is the first time you're meeting. Like, even I was more awkward with her when I met her again after primary school.
You guys are close now, right?
We don't talk as often. We talked a lot more at like the end of high school, but we still keep in contact.
Because, okay, I mean, I'll go back to that later, but I also saw someone else say this online, like this random person say that other people have said that she's really good at matching people's energy. However, she doesn't take it as a compliment. She hates it about herself. And I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing now.
Because it's a good thing, right? Like,
does that just mean you just change a lot with other, like, maybe that just is...
To some extent, like, you might be losing some of, like, your own personality in the conversation when you do that, because you're not taking it at, like, a pace that you set. But at the same time, it makes it very easy for people to get along with you and kind of talk to you. Because I feel like matching energy really is something that you do at the beginning of a friendship or when you just meet someone. And then, like, I think for us now, at least for me, I don't feel like the need to match your energy. Because I just say whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like, you get to a point where, like, you don't really have to match that person's energy, and you're just, like, going at your own pace. But there's a point where, like, you should be matching people's energy. And it's also kind of rude to not, like, do that. Because it's like, if someone's like, hi, and you're like, hey, like, you know?
I mean, yeah, I do agree with you, but I don't like matching people's energy when they're really dead and boring. Like,
there's nothing for you to match. There is no energy to match.
Like, if you just text like one word and you're hella dry, I'm not gonna do the same. I'm just gonna stop talking to you. Actually, I probably won't, but...
You don't. Because I do that to you sometimes.
That's what I would want to. Yeah. Okay. I was going to... Wait, what was the thing that I said I was going to go back and talk about?
Did you say you were going to go back and talk about something?
I did. I was... Oh,
this is what happens every episode. We lose track and then we don't remember anything that we ever said.
No, I said I would go back and talk about it. It was something to do with friends. Hold on. I'll figure it out. Just wait a second. I'll be back. So we're back. I figured out what I was going to say. So we were talking about how I met your friend yesterday, and you were a bit surprised that I just kind of naturally talked to her as like, we were good friends.
You didn't know her, and I haven't talked about her before.
I just feel like whenever I meet someone, the go-to thing I start off with is, "Hi, what's your name?" And then they say their name, and then I'll say, "Oh, I'm Flora. Nice to meet you." It always goes like that, which is also a question I wanted to ask you, which is, how do you start a conversation with someone if you're all wearing name tags?
Oh yeah, I saw was it your snap? Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just say like hi, like how are you and stuff like that.
Because I just feel like introducing a name is the first thing, but if it's already there, then you go through that awkward conversation. It's like, "Oh, I'm Flora," and then you point to your name tag and you're like, "Yep, here is the proof that my name is Flora."
Yeah, you totally can't read, and I just had to read it out for you.
Yeah, because anyway, that's how I just start conversations with new people. And then, I mean, at first, during that conversation, you guys were talking about, like, Trunks and your cousin. And then I just ended up joining in, like, whenever the conversation was something that I could relate to. I don't know. I just, like, insert myself into the conversation.
I think at first it was a lot of like just us catching up about, because we kind of lost contact at the beginning of uni. We were still talking in term 1 last year, but I think it definitely cut off when uni went online.
Oh,
And
okay,
I think because when uni did go online, I just shut myself in and didn't really talk to people at all, except for the friend that I do my courses with.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I lost contact with so many people at that point.
I kind of stopped talking to people. I mean, you know how I go through my random phases where I just don't talk to people?
Yeah.
That started during COVID, I think, but not because of COVID.
When was my big antisocial phase? Like, it was end of last year sometime.
Oh, I do remember that, actually. That was kind of during the time when I was having my antisocial phase.
And then, no, when you finished your antisocial phase, I was still in my antisocial phase. I still kind of am in my antisocial phase because I think, like, definitely more social than before, but I still don't really want to talk to people sometimes. Not, like, when I say sometimes, it means, like, most of the time.
Oh, no, I love talking to people, like, anytime. It's just texting now. Like, I used to be such a good texter, reply game's so good. But now I see it there and I just don't.
Oh, yeah, my reply game has definitely declined because now I am more likely to ignore messages.
Yeah. I used to be that person who would hate having to wait for other people to reply back. So I'm sorry. I'm a big hypocrite for doing this. Anyway,
Back to
20
the
minutes
topic.
into the episode. Yeah. So as Kelly mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we've both been doing a lot of interviews. Actually for interns / just like part-time jobs. And so we wanted to talk about our experience. Yeah.
So, Flora, do you want to say what companies you've interviewed for, or would you like to save that until you get a confirmation?
I'll just say it. So, okay, actually, it started off with every single sketchy company there was to exist.
I think you just apply everywhere that seemed to fit? Like, not really.
Not even seem to fit.
You just
On
apply.
LinkedIn, you know on LinkedIn, they've got that easy apply where you just click it.
It just sends in your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do that, and usually those are the companies that are sketchy. So I apply to all of them, and then I get interviews, and then I do a lot for the experience, knowing that it is sketchy. But then after some time, I think God was like, hold on, this girl needs a break from these sketchy places. Let me send through.
Like, literally, there was one point where, like, every 2 days you were sending me a interview invitation, and you're asking me, like,
Yeah.
does this email seem sketchy?
I mean, yeah. And then I think after some time, I got a lot of good opportunities, starting with Apple. and then I got Mecca soon after. And Mecca is a company that I've been wanting to work for forever. Like it's been the one company that I would give my soul to, basically. I finally got interviews for that. And then this morning I did interview for, Sydney Film Festival?
Yeah.
It was marketing intern, but it's volunteer, so
it's unpaid,
I probably,
right?
Yeah. Did you want to talk about your companies, the places you applied for?
So like last year I applied for a few which I completely flunked. Like last year was really a learning experience because like I was first year. Like who the heck would hire me? I had zero skill at that point, and I applied for SAP and a startup last year, and both of them I got to like the second stage, and that was where like I kind of, well, like one of them I got to second stage, one of them I got to third stage, and then both of them rejected me. Yeah, that was interesting. And then I was like, I realized that everything I kind of applied for at that point, like I was just diving straight in without really thinking about whether or not it was a good fit. And I think partially due to that, I had no real like inclination to try hard for it, and like because it wasn't really what aligned with what I wanted. It was just what was available for me.
I feel like that's actually a really good point, because a lot of times, like the reason I applied for these sketchy places was because I was thinking that I just wanted a job. I just wanted experience. And I never really considered what is it that I actually do want in a company, because I'm going to be working here. I don't want to hate my job. So I feel like it's important to actually look into the company before you apply. See if their values align with yours. See if the hours are good. Have a look on Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a great website.
Yeah, Glassdoor is really good. Except there are companies out there where Glassdoor does not have as much information on.
Yeah.
But it's a good resource to like look at before you apply, to see what the company's like, what people have said about the hiring process, or like actually working there, the work lifestyle, whatever. So this year I did apply for a few. I applied for Optiva.
Oh yes.
Which was
did you tell me about
kind
this?
of a dumb decision. Yes.
Okay.
It was kind of a dumb decision considering that I cannot do statistics, and a lot of it was statistics.
What was the position for?
It was quantitative research or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's about trading. It's trading based.
Okay.
And I was like, there was a quiz for them. There was a math quiz, and it was all stats, and I was like, what the heck? I cannot do this. I was just guessing every single one. The time limit was like intense. One mistake that I've made is that there was a company that did, I think, investment banking, and I didn't realize they sent me an invitation for an interview because it went to my spam folder.
Oh.
And I found it like after the deadline, so I was like, I missed out on this one. I won't kind of like,
you told me about this, right?
Bother them about it. Yeah, because I really don't think I should bother them about it, because it was my fault that I missed the interview because I didn't check my spam folder. Like, this is a really big tip to anyone if you're applying to stuff. Make sure you're regularly checking your spam folder, because there are a lot of times where those emails do go to your spam folder instead of your normal inbox.
How does the email differentiate between what's spam, what's not?
Spam, well, like, what's not spam is definitely, like, always the stuff that you've gotten emails from before, and, like, you've opened and read them, and you've kept them.
Okay.
Spam is generally, like, something that whatever algorithm they're using considers foreign.
Right.
So, like, when you do get emails from, like, new people, like, this has happened to, like, my parents' emails as well. Like, they've gotten, like, contacted, and they're like, oh, we sent you an email, and like they're like, oh, I can't find the email, it was in the spam folder. So no matter how many times that person resends that email, it will still be in the spam folder until you move it out of the spam folder.
Oh, okay. Because I'm looking at mine now. It's so weird. It's like,
yeah, it's a really weird mix of like just actual spam,
yeah.
and people that are trying to email you but they can't get through.
Yeah. So, what happened after you realized that?
Yeah, I just deleted the email and I was like, let's forget about this. This is a mistake. I learned from this. Instead of trying to chase out the company, because I really, like, companies have a very streamlined way of hiring where they go through the stages, like, and move the candidates through the stages in a certain, like, timeline. So, like, once you miss that timeline, you're not worthy. Like, these companies are getting, like, thousands of applicants, and they're probably not going to reschedule everything just for you.
Yeah. Sometimes they have a bit of empathy, but I never really test it. You know how, like, for example...
I wouldn't test it. Like, I really wouldn't test it. I'm too scared to.
Like, yesterday you were telling me about how the time slots for the interview, they didn't really suit your time well. Even though there's the button that says, like, I can't attend, and I guess you could probably tell them that you can't. I just wouldn't risk it.
I would not. Like, no, in the interview, she said, like, if you can't go to the time slots available, you can it wouldn't mean, like, an automatic no for your application. They will just keep re-inviting you until you get a time slot that you can go to. But I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I feel like I need to be going out of my way for this.
Yeah.
And that even if that means leaving my tutorial early next week and sacrificing some of my participation marks, I will make sure I am there on time.
Yeah, because it's a really good company and it's good opportunity if you get the position.
Yeah, so currently interviews, let's go back to us outlining our current interviews. So currently I am interviewing for a Google internship.
Oh my god.
And I've made it to the final stage.
What a smart queen.
It's a waiting game now, and I don't know. I'm really scared because, like, I made it this far. If I get kicked out now, I'm going to be really sad. Because I think I wouldn't be as sad if I just got the rejection after I sent in my resume.
Yeah, I know.
But, like, if I get it now, it's like, Google has already said that I am good enough. But maybe I might not be accepted just because I can't get a project.
But I guess it makes it a bit better knowing that if you get rejected at this stage, it wasn't because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's to do with finding the right project that suits you. And if they can't, then they reject you. So it's got nothing to do with them not wanting you, though.
And the other interview I've had recently was also for Apple, just like Flora. I applied for retail because I'm not good enough for their internship because they only take penultimate students.
And it's full-time too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is full-time. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I saw the listing before,
yeah, same.
And it was for full-time. And I had my first interview yesterday. Flora's like way ahead of me, and I applied to a different location than her. And I am now, well, I got my invitation to the next stage, and I will be going next Wednesday, so expect an update in the next couple episodes.
Yeah.
And
Apple's good with their hiring process, I think.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I think in my experience so far, Google has been better mostly because it's not just a retail position, it's an internship, and they've like assigned a recruiter to my application.
Oh, it's the same recruiter every single time?
Yeah. I don't know how many applications that recruiter is working on at the same time, but every single contact has been from her.
No, I think that's good.
And she's been giving me so many updates. And it's so nice. And I really want to meet her.
Yeah.
but I don't know if I'll have the chance to.
I actually like this episode topic because I feel like there's so much to discuss here. I think that's really good that they have like one recruiter to each person. Well, not one to each person, but like you have one recruiter throughout, because they get to know who you are a lot better. Because like, for example, I'll quickly run through what Apple's stage was like. By the way, I applied for the position. Well, actually, it's not really for any position, but it's for like the retail side of things, so not intern. But firstly, you send in your resume, cover letter, and then they send you an email if they want you, asking for like available times, Australian citizen, like very basic questions like that, right?
Yeah, it's like very admin level stuff.
Yeah, and then next step would be your phone interview. So that's the one Kelly did yesterday.
And they send you like a link to set your time. But like, I think, I don't know how many time slots you got to choose from, but all of my time slots were on a Wednesday, and Wednesday is the day that I am at uni. So like, I was taking the interview in a random cat's room at uni that was empty. Some guy walked in the middle of my interview, but my interviewer was very nice because I let her know beforehand that I was at uni and there was a chance that like random people might walk in and disturb the interview. Prepared. And she was like, she understands.
I think okay, so going back to the process. So phone interview, and then next step would be your group interview, where half of the time is spent doing like a store tour. So they kind of take you around, tell you the different positions that you could possibly get into and the different stages and what the responsibilities are. And then they kind of tell you...
And that's my next stage. That's what's happening for me on next Wednesday.
They also like tell you a bit about themselves, their experiences, a bit about like the products, but not too much. And then you have to do an activity called Hello with the Feature, where you basically just pretend like you're trying to talk to a customer, like an acting role play thing. Talk to a customer, you say hello, and then you introduce a feature of a product to them while you're saying hello. And then after that, in the same interview, you just sit down, and then you like a regular group interview where they ask a question, every single person answers that same question, going in order. And yeah, after that, like Apple's really good at getting back to you in a very short amount of time, like same day.
Same with Google as well, because like I've had companies, Google has had gaps because I really thought I failed the first stage, and a few months later, no, it wasn't even a few months, like it was a month later, and they contacted me and like, you passed, and I was like, what? Hello.
Oh yeah, it's always the first stage that is really long, and then after that it gets much quicker.
Yeah, everything like is so much more smooth afterwards. But yeah, both of my interviews were pretty good, and if it's a huge if I get offers for both, I can still take both, since like they're not conflicting either.
That's so good. I also applied for Mastercard intern, like a consultant intern, and
I saw the offering.
Have you ever done Pymetrics?
Huh?
Okay, so Pymetrics is like a program that a lot of companies use. I think it's more companies like Big Four, Mastercard, Procter & Gamble.
Oh, I haven't done any of the Big Four. I haven't applied to any of them.
It basically tests like your personality, cognitive skills. So there was like memorizing tasks and kind of like GA questions.
Oh, I've seen these before because my mom had to do one of those for one of her interviews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Red Bull had one too, which was really, really hard.
I don't like those.
I feel like if you did it in selective, like your brain is just like primed to doing, and you're able to just problem solve so much better. Because I look at, like, I was doing the Red Bull one with my family friend. I don't know if he did selective or not, but he's just really smart. And like, I don't know how he was able to think like that. And I feel like if I just did selective when I was in year 6.
It's at the beginning of year 6.
Yes, 6. Year 6, then maybe I would be really good at doing this. But I don't know, I'm really bad at like the shape things.
I mean, like, if you think about it, it's like these kids have been like training for selective since like year 4 or something like that. So many kids, like, it starts from the OC level, like, so many kids start at the OC level and then they go to selective, which is like a bit harder, a bit longer, but the style is still similar. And like, it kind of trains your brain in a way, because you're so wired to doing those questions, and then you head to like high school and everything's like useless at that point.
Speaking of, it's good for like problem solving skills, and I genuinely think that the definition of intelligence is being able to problem solve.
I mean,
and it's got nothing to do with marks.
Yes, definitely, because with marks, there's so many ways for you to like maximize your marks without really being intelligent in a sense, like being able to work in a real environment outside of like academics. Because there's a huge difference between being able to get really high scores in your like academic life than actually getting a job.
Yeah. Because with most of these companies, and especially the bigger companies, what they look for most isn't to like marks. That's just basically to get through to the first stage. And then after that, it's just all based on personality and how you interact with people. So I thought it would be a good idea if we could like go through some tricks and like how to answer interview questions, because we've done so many, and they always ask the same questions.
It's like always the same questions.
Yeah.
Like, and I hate it.
It gets repetitive, but at least it's good because then you kind of know what you're expecting.
Because like, okay, let's start off like from the beginning of an interview, like a very typical interview. The first question they ask is,
tell me about yourself.
Yeah, tell me about yourself. Introduce yourself, or like, oh, what are your interests? Like. But so many of these I've already listed on my resume. Like, a lot of the things that they want from me, they already have the information, but why do you want to hear it from me again? It's just going to be the exact same thing.
Yeah, but the reason they want to hear it is because they want you to hear how you're able to sell yourself, how you're able to talk about it. Because everyone can just write down, I have communication skills, but it's through the interview that they're able to actually see. So how do you normally answer the question? Tell me about yourself.
I'll just start like basic name, degree, and like usually something cool, something that could grab their attention. I wouldn't dive too deep into my interests if it doesn't relate to the job description. So like for Apple, when they asked me about my interests, I really talked about my tech interests. And like,
which is completely different to the way I answered it. But yes, continue.
It's just a matter of like making sure that you know how to sell yourself and you know what makes you sound really passionate. Like, what you're really passionate about will come through when you're talking about it.
Yeah. And like, Kelly is genuinely into tech, so it would make sense for her to bring up her interest in tech during the Apple interview.
And I stayed up until 3 a.m. for WWDC 21.
Exactly, like that's the kind of stuff she would do, so it makes sense for her to talk about it. But I think...
And I hoped that there would be a hardware release, but it was all software. But it was pretty cool software anyway.
Yeah. So I guess like something that recruiters really pick up on is whether you're being genuine or not. Because in my Apple interview, yes, Apple is a tech company, but I didn't mention anything about technology. And when they asked me that question, like, tell me about yourself, what are your interests?
Yeah, I think it was what are your interests? Because they already got like name and degree from the resume.
Yeah. I talked about makeup and content creation. And then I linked that to being creative and just liking working with people. And so, like, even though it's a tech company, don't pretend that you're into tech just because you think
They can tell
that that's what they want to hear. Obviously, makeup is completely different industry to Apple, but if you're able to just talk about something but then link it to something that is relevant to them, like being creative, being able to talk to people, that's a skill that they want to hear. So it doesn't really matter about like the, I guess, what am I trying to say?
Just don't try to BS your way into an interview, because there will always be a point where the recruiter will pick up on it, because like these people have interviewed like thousands of candidates.
Yeah.
They can tell if you're being genuine or not. They can tell if you're suitable for the job or not, and they can tell if you should be hired or not.
And I also think if you pretend to be someone you're not and you actually do get the job, there's a risk
You're
that
screwed.
you might actually hate it there because you realize that the person that you pretended to be was meant to be for that role, but you are actually not that person.
Never do it for the money. I get like there's people that are struggling with money and stuff like that. That's a whole separate story. But we're more trying to talk to people in our position where we're students. We don't really need to spend that much money. At least for us, like, we still live in our parents' houses. Like, we don't pay the bills. Like, we don't really need to spend that much money. And we don't need as much disposable income as someone that might have, like, moved out, is paying for their own groceries, their own bills. So, like, at least for us, it's a matter of just gaining experience as well as, like, trying to explore things that we're interested in while we still have the time to.
Okay.
Like, if you're short on money, you really need the job. That also shows, like, you're so willing to do whatever. And that will show in how you kind of present yourself. Because have you heard the story about the guy on LinkedIn? Basically, I think it was there were people complaining about not being able to find jobs when there's so many jobs out there, while he was laid off from a job due to the pandemic. And he used to be like working in an office or something, but now he's working in some factory, and he went to the job. There were like, let's say there was a number of people there joining on the same day, but you could see people slowly just like quitting because they couldn't handle it, they couldn't get through it. And he was talking about how, like, because he really needed the money, he kept going no matter how much he hated the job, no matter how much, like, he didn't want to do that, because that was his way of surviving.
Yeah.
And I really respected that. And apparently, like, after that LinkedIn post, he got so many offers from different companies.
Aww.
Because companies do prioritize, like, having your attitude, and like having a very can-do attitude, having like a very positive attitude towards work, because in terms of skills, everything can be learnt, but you can't really change a person's attitude that easily.
Yeah, and
that's what you have to take from any interview.
But also, like, be realistic. Companies do need a certain number of skills for you to actually get through to the first round. Like, if you're applying for Kelly's Google thing, I don't think that I would have...
You need to be able to code.
Yeah.
Like...
Actually, so in my Apple interview, this was the one-on-one, and they asked me, like, tell me about a time when you showed, what was it? Excellent customer service skills.
Oh, I had that too.
And so I told my story, and then she asked, oh yeah, like, what was her name? And the first name that came into my mind was Isabel, so I said that. So, and then afterwards, I was thinking, was that a trick question to see if I was being genuine or not? Because realistically,
yes.
Would you remember like a customer's name? No, probably not. Although in my position, yes, because I was talking from an Optom assistant role where you do have to learn people's names, because it's like regular customers that come in, like they're patients, so you remember who they are, you do their orders for them. So, but do you think that she asked that as like a trick question?
Probably.
Yeah, me too. That's what I think.
It's also like it's also a matter of like knowing whether or not you like remember customers, like you're able to kind of communicate with them, and also like you value them as well. Because like remembering a customer's name is a big thing. Like
no, because so my theory is that she probably expected me to say no, I don't remember her name, because I feel like that's what most people would do. But if you make up someone's name, like for example, that's what I did. I just made up like Isabel. She would probably think, oh wow, she answered that question like so quick. That was probably fake. She's lying. That entire story was a lie.
I don't know, because my one was that I got the same question, and because I don't have like customer service experience directly, but I do have experience in tutoring and like talking to parents about like progress and like study plans and what's kind of best for the student. And I kind of talked about a story from there about one of my students, and the follow-up question was like, oh, so what was the parents' response to like how you explained everything? And so I talked about how like they were reluctant, and then they like kind of like understood, and the child convinced them and stuff like that. So when you do have a story like that, you have to be prepared for follow-up questions.
Yeah.
So like if you're making something up, you'll be exposed the moment that they ask a follow-up question.
Okay. So yeah, like in a lot of these interviews, they do ask, it is very, very, very common that they'll ask a tell me about a time when kind of question. So you need to be prepared for this.
And it will be related to the job.
Yeah, and it might not be directly related. Like, if it's, I guess, like, if it's Apple, you are able to tell, like, a tutoring story. But just, again, make sure your answer still comes back and you're able to relate it to an important part that they're looking for. So a lot of...
Yeah, like, just make sure you're relating it to the relevant skill that they're trying to ask you about.
Yeah, which isn't something that I knew when I first started. Well, I mean, like, I knew it, but I wasn't able to do it. But I think over time, with a lot of practice, you kind of figure it out.
Yeah, it's really a matter of practice with interviews. Like, never script your answers as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, especially nowadays with interviews, at least the ones that I've done, I haven't really done, like, Big Four, so I feel like Big Four would be, like, very formal, and anything in the law world would be very formal. But, like, all of my interviews, one tip that I can give you is try to maintain a conversational tone.
Oh, yes.
Rather than being very jittery and, like, also, like, thinking of the interviewer as someone superior, because what you really want to do is get to know them and try to become, like, not really buddy-buddy, but, like, kind of friendly tone. Because if you do work in a workplace, especially, I think nowadays, it's not as formal, especially in the tech world. I'm not sure about, like, the very, like, the Big Four world, in a sense. But in the tech world, everything is so, like, informal, relaxed, and even, like, dress code is relaxed. So just make sure that you match whatever tone that the company requires.
Yeah, and all of this information you can find out through research, and a lot of it, like we said before, Glassdoor, it's a website, and you can see, like, past employees' reviews on it, the culture, the benefits, the pay, interview process. Also, company website will tell you a bit of stuff.
Yeah, and also make sure you familiarize yourself with I think this is a very, like, simple tip, but familiarize yourself with the company itself, know their product, know what they do, because it really shows in your interview when you don't really know anything about them.
Yeah.
Because I think I got really different questions from Flora for the exact same interview at Apple, because I am completely within the Apple ecosystem in terms of like my technology. And I think because I did mention that I was watching WWDC, I got a lot of questions on my experience with Apple as a company and what I thought of it as a company, and like experiencing as like a customer in Apple stores, as well as experience with the products themselves.
Actually, yeah, one thing I did notice after my phone interview was that I don't think they had a lot of set questions. It was kind of like a follow-up from however you answered. So I think the reason that...
Yeah, it depends. Everything depends on how you answer your question.
Yeah, like the reason that your interview was so different to mine and the questions they asked you were so Apple-based was because you kind of led them into that path. Whereas like the way that I answered it was a lot different. So we didn't really touch on like the Apple products, the company. Well, actually, we did talk about the company a bit. And usually when I research about a company, I look at the sustainable and the social impact factor, except for Apple. This time I didn't. So I had to make something up in the middle of an interview. But with
one funny thing about me though.
Yeah.
You know how like recently all the phone interviews have been over the phone, at least for me. I tend to speak with like, even now when we're recording podcasts, I tend to speak with like hand actions a lot.
Oh my god, wait. I feel like I do that too.
Yesterday I was sitting in the cat's room at uni and the door was clear and like people outside could see me like with my AirPods in, like talking on the phone, but like my hands were moving like violently. It probably looked really funny to anyone that didn't have any context, because I was just there like, whoa.
Yeah, I think it also like gets you... It's a good thing. It makes you feel more like formal. Like, wait, I just did it right now without even realizing it.
I do it like every single time we record as well.
Okay, so with all the interview processes that you have done, if you were to create the best interview experience ever, what would that kind of be like?
Like, my ideal interview experience would probably be aligned to like Google and Apple. Like, I feel like those were the better experiences, because
what made them better?
I just feel like, well, like I had more experience. Like, never expect your first interview to go well. That's the thing.
Really?
Like, you shouldn't, unless you're experienced in interviews, like never expect the first time you ever do an interview to like
first ever interview, or do you mean first interview with a company?
First ever interview.
Oh, okay.
So
okay,
like,
yeah.
There's a matter of like just practicing and making sure that you do understand what questions could come up, and like think of some scenarios in your own head, like run it through yourself and then do your interview. That's the best way to prepare. Like, I don't think you should really like script everything for your interview, because that's really obvious. You want to like just think on the spot, because if you can't think on the spot, how are you gonna get the job? Because every single job requires you to think on the spot. Like, don't always rely on having like a script there for you, and don't rely on always knowing the answers. And my other thing is, Flora, I don't think you've ever done a technical interview, but I have. Like, I've done one.
No, I have. For the makeup.
Oh, like, yeah, in a sense, like, because my technical interviews are very like, it's coding based, problem solving based, and my tip for that is talk to your interviewer, because they aren't there to like throw you off your path. I know everyone says this, but like listen to what your interviewer says. Talk them through what you want to do. Listen to their suggestions. Consider their suggestions. Think about it. And also ask them if you don't know stuff, because especially for internships, they don't expect you to know everything. because they do understand that you're still learning, you're still in uni, and you have skills that you will be picking up over time as well.
Yeah, and also, every single person that you meet from the second you walk into the door to the second you leave, considering it's like an in-person interview, those people are important to your actual interview process. Like even the receptionist that you meet, make sure that you have a good interaction with them, because a lot of times your recruiter could ask them, what was your experience like with this person? And for my the one that I just mentioned, the makeup one, so it's for Mecca, like a makeup artist position. So we went in and we had to create a makeup look on another candidate, and like there were a lot of, like maybe 3 or 4 employees at Mecca that were there, and every time you got to talk to them, act as if they are the recruiter, even though some of them were just there to like I don't know, just from the second you walk into the door, that's when your interview starts, basically.
Yeah. But at the same time, don't fake it.
Oh, yes.
Never
Don't.
fake anything.
Well,
Like, I cannot repeat that enough. Like, because the consequences when you get caught are so bad. Like, you do not know what will happen. Because I've heard about, like, people faking their graduating year to get an internship. And I'm like, hello, like, do you really think the company would be that dumb and not know or not find out?
it's worked before, but I would have to say it's probably
It's
better
not
to
worth
avoid
the risk.
Yeah. I think, okay, I know we're trying to give like good tips. I do think in some cases it is okay to fake some things. Like, for example, with the questions they ask you, tell me about a time when, like, those stories can be slightly twisted a bit, which is
Like, you take, as long as it's based on some truth,
yes,
and
yes.
you can actually handle any questions they ask afterwards, as long as you're able to, like, demonstrate that you can do something and you understand it or the concept of it, I think that's good enough.
Also,
But if you don't have to fake it, don't fake it.
yeah, definitely, because it sounds a lot more natural if you're able to just kind of think about it from the top of your head. Something that I've learned as part of my course, like, it was psychology of work, and I think they're behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when you want to go through the STAR method, you know, like situation, task, action, result, but
Oh, I kind of do that naturally. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of start off a scenario, outline it, let the interviewer know what's the scenario I'm trying to talk about, and then it's like what I'm trying to achieve in that scenario, and then like what I did.
I think the most
And-
important part of that question is the result. Like what, yeah.
Even if you forget about the result bit, they usually will ask you about it or ask you more details about the result as well.
Yeah. Another common question they ask is, do you have any questions for me? What are your go-to questions?
Depends on the company, depends on who the interviewer is, because first of all, I would always ask them about like their experience with the company, what they've done and I would always like kind of show my interest through that, because it's like, oh, I want to learn more about what this part of what you've done is. And it's like trying to learn more about the company based on things that aren't just like available on their website. Like, learn more about them, learn more about the work life.
Like personal experiences, yeah.
And also, like, good tips is like ask about like hours and stuff like that if it's a casual position, like one of those like rotating ones where like it's different, because a lot of this information isn't available online. All the information available online isn't as accurate. So like I asked about like shift length, what it's like, is it like regularly working on the same days, or like does it change a lot? Stuff like that is actually really helpful to you in your future stages as well?
I'll ask this later actually. The questions that I normally go for are like basically what are the biggest opportunities and also challenges about this position, and then I ask about like the like future opportunities as well, not necessarily promotions, but for example, if you're doing retail and if it's the right company like Apple, Mecca, Woolworths, like those kind of companies, ask about like graduate programs because a lot of them do have it. I think it doesn't really like these questions that you ask, it just has to show that you're interested in the company. But what's your opinion on asking about pay?
Pay is a bit of an awkward one. I generally don't ask because if I like the job, I won't really mind.
Yes, same.
Yeah, like so like for my Apple, I don't care how much they pay me as long as it's like minimum wage, like legal side, but I don't really mind because I know that I will enjoy working there. I like them as a company. I like the products that they make. And I like the fact that I would be sharing those products with other people. Wow, yeah, I hope I get the job. But, yeah, it's like, pay isn't that important to me, at least, especially where I am right now. Like I said before, I don't need to worry about, like, meeting bills, meeting, like, home loan repayments, stuff like that, because I have my parents to support me.
You know what's kind of a weird thing though? I feel like, not weird, but it's the bigger companies that I just have let me just rephrase the entire thing. Comparing the small companies, the interviews that I've done for them, and the big companies, meaning Mecca and Apple, I just have such a much better experience. Even in like the process is definitely much longer, but everything is just structured so well because I compare it to the Optom position that I did, and I'm pretty sure I called you after that. I don't know if I was crying on the phone when I called you, but I definitely did cry driving home. And like it was just a stressful environment. Like these recruiters at the big company, they're trained at what they do. It's not just the boss that they're just saying, okay, let me just interview this person. The training really makes a difference because they set the environment to be very safe and comfortable, and then I don't know, it just feels easier.
It's definitely more enjoyable because like when I interviewed for tutoring positions before, it was all like, oh, so what school did you go to? What ATA did you get? Okay, you're hired.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know if I can teach? I don't think you know that. So why are you hiring me? Like, is it just because I went to the top school in the state? Well, like, that doesn't say anything about my abilities. Like, there's so many of those interviews out there where I'm like, the moment they do that, I'm kind of like, I don't want to work for you because I don't think you understand what the standard should be.
And I think there's such a big misconception that you do have to have like all the skills to get the job, or you have to like know everything about the company.
It's definitely more attitude because skills can be learned.
Yeah.
Like, unless you have like no skill at all, like that's concerning. But if you're willing to spend time to pick up the skills, you'll do so much better in the long run if you have the correct attitude. And my tip for people is never work for a company whose values you don't align with because you'll hate it there.
Oh, actually, yes. Another good thing is, I don't think that this could possibly be an issue too for big companies, but if you're applying for a small company where it's fine, like if you, like startups, for example, but just make sure you know your rights as an employee, like the minimum wage, the hours, and make sure that you're always checking to see whether what you're getting paid matches what you have to do. Because a lot of times too...
Also chase up missing payments.
Yeah. A lot of times I feel like
I know it's a very awkward conversation, but it's important.
So I saw on TikTok, because someone was saying how it's also awkward to be put in a position where you ask for raises. And she says, like, the best way that I can do this is look at your responsibilities and see, like, because a lot of times they add responsibilities on after you get your job, like, oh, you're also going to have to teach these people. And so what you should do is, if you're in that conversation about negotiating, say, so these are the responsibilities that have been added onto my position here, and I haven't gotten a raise for it. At other companies who, and make sure that if you are negotiating, be realistic.
Be reasonable.
Yeah. Have a look at like what the average is for, not particularly for the role, but for the responsibilities and tasks that you have to do. Like,
at least for me, there was a tutoring place that was like, they sent me an offer for like a certain amount to teach like 5 to 8 students per class. And then I turned up to work and it was a class of 15.
Yeah, exactly.
And I stuck through that at the beginning because it was so early on, it was really hard to ask for a raise, like, because I just started. But at the end of the term, when I asked for a raise, because I knew that my responsibilities were more than what they offered at the beginning, for the price that they offered at the beginning, I asked for a raise. And especially because, like, there were companies out there willing to pay me so much more.
Yeah.
For, like, less work. And they just let me leave. And I'm like, okay.
I also think it's really important for you to know your own strengths and your own worth. And it's definitely, like, a weird thing, it's a weird feeling to have to sell yourself and, like, talk yourself up. But it's important that you do know where you stand, because
you also have the right to say no.
Yeah, people do take advantage of you if you don't.
Yeah, because your job's description is what you're paid for. And if you get extra work on top of that, you should be compensated for it. Like, you shouldn't... Like, I think there's a matter of, like, you just volunteering to do something versus you being assigned a task without getting paid for it.
Yeah, and this is based on hourly pay. But if you're listening and you're on salary, then I don't know how that works.
I mean, like, my brother's on salary, and he works like 12 hours a day, but he likes it there, so he doesn't mind.
Okay, yeah.
And his salary isn't even that high. Like, there's jobs out there where, like, you can work your way up, because at the end of the day, I think, unless you have moved out, like, I think the best decision, unless it's impacting you, like, mentally, is to stay at home and explore your options, because there's no point rushing into a job that you hate.
What's your like ideal culture that you want to work with? Because culture is definitely one of the main things that I think a lot of people look at when they're starting a job, and it's also one of the main reasons that people stay at a job too.
I think ideal culture is, I don't really want to work at a workplace like I don't think a job at the Big Four is for me. I really like the relaxed, more modern approach to work, and it's very, like, chill. This is more common in, like, tech companies than it is in, like, traditional Big Four or law firms, stuff like that. And I really don't think that, like, stereotypical corporate culture is for me.
Honestly,
I'm more like, I want to be friendly with everyone. I don't want to, like, have to really bow down to anyone, because, like, there will be people I respect, and it will show in the way that I talk to them, the way I refer to them. But that doesn't mean I have to, like, run errands for that person, you know? Depending on, like, what my job description is. I really want an inclusive work environment that allows me to like just be friends with everyone. Everyone's friendly and it's comfortable. It's very welcoming.
Yeah, definitely one where people are just like nice and accepting and supportive.
I would want to work in a place where there's a lot of team bonding.
Yeah.
Compared to like, I know at tutoring, it's a lot less of that because like a lot of the time you just teach your class, you leave. You teach your class, you leave. You don't really interact with other staff. And I don't really like that because like, I don't know. It's like you just walk past each other. You don't really know how to greet each other. You don't know each other's names. You just go teach your class and then you leave.
Yeah.
I
Definitely
think that's
like
more
a team
of like a job
bonding.
for the money instead of like the lifestyle.
Yeah, tutoring is something, it's very like short-term stuff. Not really something that people do.
I can't see myself tutoring long term.
You also said like something about like the corporate culture. Something that my friend told me is that work friends will always remain work friends. And
yeah, it's really hard to like blend.
Not even that, but like I think it's also important that you just have to be like wary of them. I guess because essentially people are just selfish people. Like that's just kind of who we are.
You're gonna be competing for promotions because
and they're always a competition.
Limited spots.
Yeah,
there's so much competition. I don't like that kind of work culture. Which is once again, I don't like the very stereotypical corporate culture that's like depicted in mostly in dramas nowadays, and I don't think is as realistic in many companies because many companies are so like have modernized their like way of running internally.
I do think that I don't know, like from my this could be completely fake. Apple seems to have a stricter management, but the people there do seem nicer. Whereas Mecca,
it definitely is very welcoming. While like you do need to meet like expectations and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's
obviously.
Still, like, formal.
Yeah. I don't know, like, both of us right now are just in this stage where we actually haven't... We're just in the process...
Gotten any offers.
We're just in the process of all these interviews. Like,
and hopefully none of them reject us because they listen to this podcast episode. Apple, please hire me.
Oh, actually,
Google, please hire me. I want the job.
No,
I want to work there. I want to work on your projects. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, Apple and Google, if you're listening.
I got the job at Sydney Film Festival for the marketing intern. Because also she was like, oh, like, is Thursday okay? And I was like, yep. And she was like, okay, cool. And then I just kept saying yes to everything because I felt so bad about saying no. But I'll probably just email her later and tell her that I don't want unpaid.
I think know your worth in terms of internships because there's so many that are unpaid. Some could still provide you with very good experience, but know your worth because at the end of the day, if you're going to be productive for the company needs to compensate you for that in one way or another.
Yeah, and commission-based pay, I think it's low-key sketchy if they don't have a base.
It's sketchy. I don't like commission-based pay. I would never work for a commission-based pay. Like, real estate is a different story. Real estate is like a... But like, in terms of like regular sales, I wouldn't.
I think commission is fine, but if there's no base salary, then that's when it gets really sketchy.
Oh no, there needs to be a base, right? Like, is this...
Is that legal?
I do not know.
Because I went for a company and they said that there's no base salary, it's just commission. And it's commission based on how many students I can recruit from Hong Kong into Australia.
What?
I'm like, excuse me, how do you expect me to get students from Hong Kong into Australia? Because
I understand like sales goals and like meeting them.
Like KPIs.
Like performance, making sure like performance is always improving, stuff like that. But like meeting a certain number to get money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I said no. They didn't want to hire me, so it's all good. I wasn't qualified anyway because they wanted me to make very formal educational videos on visa in Canto. And my Cantonese is like...
I cannot do like formal Cantonese.
No, I wouldn't be able to do that.
And my Cantonese is not like traditional Cantonese. Mine is like... There's things that I say that...
There's such a big difference between street and formal.
No, there's also like difference between like which country you're actually from. Like, because the Cantonese spoken in Vietnam is very different to the Cantonese in Hong Kong. Because there's so many things that have been substituted that don't make sense.
Really?
Because, you know, a lighter? This is the most common one I can think of. Lighter. What do you call it? You guys call it pho cây, right?
No. Wait, what do you call it?
Pho cây. Turkey.
Oh, wait, isn't...
No, it's pho cây. Like, fire machine. Not fire chicken.
Oh, no. I would call it like tap pho cây.
Oh, no, that's like when you're actually like lighting it. But pho cây is like the lighter. Tap pho cây is lighting the lighter.
Okay.
But for me, it would be tap pho cây. And you would not understand because you're like, why the heck are we lighting a turkey?
No, it's accent.
It's not even accent,
but
because
with context.
I think we just say it. There's a lot more like different ones that I do not know if they're actually different, because a lot of times it's not really stuff that comes up in regular conversation, and I don't talk to you in Cantonese, so like we don't really have that issue.
Yeah, my grandma says like, oh, 佢而家去嗰處, but we don't ever say like 嗰處. And I don't think that's a regular thing that people say in Hong Kong.
How did we deviate to this? I mean, like, I think
I actually forgot.
One of my cousins from Vietnam went to Hong Kong, and like the taxi driver could tell that they were foreigners because the Cantonese that they spoke was completely different. Like, it's very easy to tell when you're in Hong Kong, because when I listen to like
No, even when I listen to you speak, I can, like, I know what you're saying, but it's like...
It's different.
It is. Anyway, nothing to do with interviews, though. Oh, yes, actually, I'm going to bring it back to interviews. Do not lie about language.
Oh, yeah, do not,
on your interviews.
Do not apply for a job where you need to meet, like, certain language expectations that you can't, because you will not learn in time.
Have you seen that viral TikTok about the plane?
Oh yeah, like it's like so do it in Korean, and it's like 안녕하세요. The plane is like they're mixing like 5 different languages.
Unfortunately, I've been in that position before, but very, very fortunately, managers were not in the store at the time. And so I wrote on my resume that I could speak Mandarin, and
I mean, like, so when you're on the street and like random Asian like elderly people ask you questions and you don't know how to answer them. Like, once I was on the train, right, and like my Mandarin sucks in, like, I understand, but like not...
Me too.
But also not at the speed that people do talk, because like they talk so quickly in real life.
Same. No,
compared to dramas, I can understand because they talk a lot slower. But like in real life,
drama's not even.
In real life, they talk so fast. I'm like, what the heck did you just say? Like, that does not sound like the Mandarin that I know.
I said that I could speak Mandarin, then this woman comes in, so she can only speak Mandarin, no English, and she can like kind of understand Canto, but she can't speak Canto, and I can speak Canto, but I can't speak Mandarin. Okay, so then she's looking for glasses, and I can understand everything she's saying. Like, she's saying that, like, she takes out her phone and she shows me a picture, and she's like, I want something like this. I want like frame that looks like this. And the worst part is understanding but not knowing how to respond, because I'm like, also I do know how to say like recommend, so I was like, 我推荐这个牌子 but then she asked me why. Okay, sorry. So that means like I would recommend this brand and then she asked why and then I was just stuck there. I'm like,
这个
I don't
牌
know
子
how to
的
explain.
quality 很高。这个牌子的 manufacturing is very 好。Is that what you said?
I literally was mute. Like I couldn't. I just brought her over and I made her try it on, and then she's just like,
I would have done that.
"Oh my god,
I would have
the worst customer experience." I literally could not communicate with her at all. But yeah, so don't lie about language.
Yeah, and especially don't lie about your skills because you could be assessed on it and they'll figure it out. Like, it's not worth lying. Like, just in general, I think we're wrapping up now. My final tips, I'll let Flora say her final tips too. Biggest one is do not lie. And my other tip is know your worth.
I'd say my tips would be do your research and make sure, like, it kind of ties into what Kelly says, know your worth and see if the company is fit for you. Don't try to fit yourself to the company because down the track, that's going to be really hard for you.
Unless you're like trying to meet, like, make ends meet and stuff like that. That's a different story.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah. And also, like, just be yourself.
Yeah, just don't make a fake persona because you'll hate it afterwards. Because you have to keep up with that persona and then, like, it will be
it's
messy.
Gonna be hard.
It will be messy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think with that, I think that's the end of our episode for this week. If you like that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I checked the analytics recently. 70% of you guys aren't subscribed. So please subscribe. Help us monetize. Haha. Just kidding.
Follow us on Instagram. It's 2.friendlessfriends.
Download our episodes on whatever podcast player you are using. And if you guys haven't noticed, I've been making new visuals for us. Making them kind of themed to whatever the episode topic is. I'm trying my best. And
yeah, and if you guys ever like a particular episode, you have feedback on it, we would love to hear it. You
give us more episode ideas.
Message one of us.
Message us. Message one of us. Message the Instagram. Email us. Whatever. We will be checking. We check them regularly. Well, I do. I have notifications on for everything. But make sure, biggest thing is make sure you're subscribed. Only 70% of you guys are not. 30% are.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, we'll thank you everyone for watching and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.